The first time I realized my son cared about my wife's envelope more than I did was 4 days after her funeral. I came home from the attorney's office and found Nathan in my study with every drawer open. Tax folders were on the floor. Old checkbooks covered the desk. A box of photographs had been moved from the bottom shelf. He looked up. "Dad, I didn't hear you." "I can see that." He started closing drawers. "I was looking for Mom's insurance paperwork." "Why?" "The attorney said there might be another policy." "No, he didn't." His hand stopped. I had just spent 90 minutes with the attorney. I knew exactly what we had discussed. Nathan looked at me. Maybe I misunderstood. Maybe. I didn't accuse him. Elaine had been gone less than 2 weeks. We were both exhausted, and Nathan had helped us through the worst months of her illness. But I still wanted to know why he had been searching my study while I was gone. That morning, the attorney had reviewed Elaine's will with me. Nothing was unusual. Her retirement account came to me. A smaller investment account was divided between our 2 children. Some jewelry went to our daughter, Rachel. Then, near the end, the attorney removed a yellow note from the file. "There's one other item." "What?" "Your wife left instructions about a sealed envelope." "What envelope?" "She said it was for you personally." "Do you have it?" "No, she kept it herself." He didn't know where. He didn't know what was inside. Then he told me something I hadn't expected. Nathan was present when she mentioned it. "When?" "About 6 months ago." I remembered that meeting. Nathan had driven Elaine because I was out of town. I hadn't known he stayed for any part of it. Back in the study, I watched my son return the folders to the drawer. "Did you know your mother left an envelope for me?" He turned too quickly. "What envelope?" "On the one she discussed with the attorney." His expression changed, just slightly. "Oh, that. So you remember." "Vaguely." "What did she say?" "I don't know. I was in and out." I looked at the open drawers. "What were you really looking for?" He stared at the floor. Then he stopped pretending. "The envelope." "Why?" "I thought maybe I should see it first." That was not the answer I expected. "Why would you need to?" He sat down. "Mom was worried about something near the end." "She was sick. She was worried about plenty." "No, this was different." I waited. "She told me there were things about the family finances you didn't know." My wife and I had shared our finances for 37 years. At least I believed we had. "What things?" "She never told me." "Then why do you want the envelope?" Nathan rubbed the back of his neck. "I just think you should let me look at it before you read it." "No." "Dad." "No." I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. A private letter from my wife was not something I was going to hand to anyone first. After Nathan left, I locked the study. Then I made a list of every place Elaine kept important papers: her dresser, the cedar chest in the guest room, the cabinet in the laundry room, the safe deposit box at our bank. Then I remembered the small fireproof box in the back of our bedroom closet. I hadn't opened it since she went into the hospital. The box was still there. I found the key in her jewelry drawer. Inside were our passports, birth certificates, marriage license, and several old savings bonds. No envelope. But beneath the documents was a white index card. I recognized Elaine's handwriting immediately. There was only one sentence. "If Thomas is reading this, the envelope is not where Nathan thinks it is." I sat on the edge of the bed, then read it again. My son hadn't simply known about the envelope. My wife had known he would look for it. And suddenly, I wasn't interested in finding it because I was curious about what Elaine had written. I needed to understand why she had hidden it from our son. I didn't call Nathan. I put Elaine's card in my wallet, returned everything else to the fireproof box, and started thinking about where she might have moved the envelope. Then I remembered something from 3 months earlier. Elaine had asked me to drive her to our bank. She insisted I wait in the car. 20 minutes later, she came back empty-handed. I asked what she had been doing. "Cleaning up loose ends," she said. I hadn't questioned it then. Now I did. The next morning, I went to the bank. After checking my identification, the employee pulled up our records. "Yes, Mr. Bennett, you and your wife had a safe deposit box here." Had? It was closed 3 months ago. Exactly when I remembered bringing Elaine there. Did she remove everything? The box was surrendered that day. Was anyone with her? No. Whatever she had done alone. I was about to leave when the employee stopped me. "There is something else. Your wife opened a separate savings account that afternoon." I sat back down. "How much is in it?" Because I was listed to receive the account after her death, she could confirm the balance. A little over $86,000. That number meant nothing to me. Where did the money come from? She requested the account history. A few minutes later, she returned with 3 pages. Elaine had sold an investment she inherited from her father years earlier. The proceeds were $186,000. That explained where the money came from. It didn't explain where $100,000 had gone. There were 3 transfers. $40,000. Then $35,000. Then $25,000. All within several weeks. All sent to the same outside account. I pointed to the abbreviated information beside the transactions. "Who received this?" "I can't see the account holder from our system. Were the transfers made while my wife was alive?" "Yes. The last one happened 11 days before she entered the hospital." I folded the pages. Now the envelope wasn't my only problem. $100,000 had left an account I hadn't even known existed. Nathan came by that afternoon with groceries. Since the funeral, he had been doing that every few days. He put milk in the refrigerator and noticed my jacket over the chair. "You went somewhere?" "The bank." His hands paused for half a second. "Everything okay?" "I think so." I watched him put cans into the pantry. "Your mother closed our safe deposit box." "When?" 3 months ago." "Huh." Then I added, "She opened another account too." This time he turned around. "What account?" "A savings account." "How much?" The question came quickly. Too quickly. He seemed to realize it. "I mean, was it significant?" "Why?" "I'm trying to understand what Mom was doing." "So am I." We ate at the kitchen table. After a few minutes, Nathan brought up the envelope again. "You find anything?" "No." He nodded. "Maybe Mom got rid of it." "Maybe." Then he said, "I've been thinking about what you told me, about Mom knowing I might look for it." I put down my coffee. "I never told you that." He stared at me. "You must have." "No." The card was still in my wallet. He had never seen it. Nathan pushed his chair back. "Dad, this is getting weird." "I agree. You think I'm hiding something?" "I think you know something about that envelope you haven't told me." He stood. "I need to get back to work." I didn't stop him. At the door, he turned. "Whatever Mom left, don't make it into something bigger than it is." Then he left. He claimed he didn't know what the envelope contained, but somehow he already knew I might not like what I found. That evening, I spread the bank records across the table. I looked at the dates of the 3 transfers. Then I pulled Elaine's calendar from beside the refrigerator. She wrote down almost everything: appointments, lunches, repairs, reminders. On the date of the first transfer, she had written N 10:30. The second transfer, N 2 o'clock. I stopped there. N could mean Nathan. It could also mean several other people we knew. I wasn't going to accuse my son because of one letter on a calendar. Then I checked the third transfer. There was no N. Instead, Elaine had written, "Call M, don't sign yet." I read those 4 words again. Someone had put a document in front of my wife shortly before $25,000 disappeared from her account. And whatever it was, she had become worried enough to stop before signing it. The M on Elaine's calendar turned out to be Martin, our attorney. I called him the next morning. "Did Elaine speak to you on April 3rd? I heard him checking his records. "Yes. She called that afternoon." "What about?" "She asked what she should do if someone gave her financial documents she didn't fully understand." I looked at the calendar. "Call M, don't sign yet." "Did she tell you who gave them to her?" "No." "What did you tell her?" "Not to sign anything until she understood exactly what it changed." "Did she sound frightened?" Martin thought before answering. "Not frightened, suspicious." That word stayed with me. Elaine didn't panic when something went wrong. She slowed down. She checked. Apparently, near the end of her life, she had started checking someone she trusted. I drove to see Rachel that afternoon. My daughter lived nearly 3 hours away, and I wanted this conversation face to face. At her dining table, I showed her the 3 transfers. "Did Mom ever mention this account?" "No." "What about Nathan helping her with financial paperwork?" Rachel looked at me for several seconds. There was something she asked me. "When?" "About a month before the hospital." "What?" "She wanted to know if you'd ever given Nathan permission to handle money for you." My stomach tightened. "What did you say?" "That I didn't know." "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because Mom asked me not to. She said she wanted to understand what was happening first." That sounded exactly like Elaine. Rachel continued. "She also said he kept bringing her papers to sign." "What papers?" She wouldn't say. For the first time, Nathan wasn't simply connected to the envelope. He was connected to the period when Elaine had become suspicious about her finances. Still, that wasn't proof he had taken anything, and I wasn't going to treat it like proof. On the drive home, I stopped at a diner and wrote one sentence on a napkin: "Find where the money went before confronting anyone." That became my rule. The answer came from Elaine's email account. I kept it active after her death because bills and medical notices still arrived there. I searched the transfer dates. On March 11th, the day $35,000 left her account, I found an automated message from the company that processed the transfer. Transfer instruction received. There was a reference number and a customer service number. I called. After verifying my identity and providing documents showing I was handling Elaine's affairs, they agreed to review the transaction. 2 hours later, a representative called back. The instruction was submitted electronically. Can you tell whether my wife submitted it? Not who physically used the computer. What can you tell me? The approximate location associated with the login. She named a suburb, not my town, Nathan's. I stood up from the kitchen chair. Are you certain? Yes. The location wasn't precise enough to identify a house, but it was enough to change the situation. I checked Elaine's calendar again. March 11th, N, 2 o'clock. Then I checked my own calendar. I had been nearly 40 miles away that afternoon. I remembered Nathan calling later and saying he'd stopped by to bring his mother lunch. Now I had a possible explanation for the N. But there was still an innocent version of events. Elaine could have asked him to make the transfer. She had trusted him. She had been sick. He had helped her with bills and online accounts. If I accused my son now and discovered his mother had authorized everything, I couldn't undo that conversation. So I waited. Nathan called that evening. After asking how I was doing, he returned to the same subject. Any luck finding Mom's envelope? No. Maybe it isn't important. Maybe. A short silence. Then he asked, "Did you check the safe deposit box?" I looked toward the bank records. Why would I check there? Mom kept important things there. Not anymore. Silence. What do you mean? She closed it. This time the pause was longer. Then Nathan asked, "Did the bank tell you what she did with everything that was inside?" I didn't answer. That wasn't the question of a man who believed the envelope was probably unimportant. He wanted to know what the bank had told me. He wanted to know what Elaine had removed. And suddenly, I understood something I'd been looking at backward. Nathan wasn't afraid of what his mother might have written in the envelope. He was afraid of what she might have put inside it. The next morning, I stopped searching for the envelope. I started searching for the document Elaine had refused to sign. Martin had kept notes from their phone call, but she never sent him the form. So I went through her papers again. This time I wasn't looking for anything marked important. I was looking for something that didn't belong. I found it in a folder with old insurance statements. 3 pages. The first 2 were ordinary account information. The third was different. It gave another person authority to make changes to one of Elaine's investment accounts. The signature line was blank. At the top, in her handwriting, she'd written, "No. Ask Martin first." I sat at her desk, staring at it. Someone had prepared this for her. Someone expected her to sign it. She hadn't. I took the document to Martin. He read it carefully. "Have you seen this before?" I asked. "No." What would it have allowed? In practical terms, whoever was named here could have requested changes without Elaine handling every step herself. Who was supposed to be named? He pointed to a section. It had been left blank. That bothered me. Why prepare a document without a name? Possibly so the name could be added later. I looked at him. Is that normal? Not the way I'd want a client to sign it. Neither would Elaine. Martin returned the pages. Then he opened the file from her meeting 6 months earlier. There is something else. He showed me one of his notes. Thomas, personal letter plus original statement. Do not include with estate copies. What statement? I never saw it. Did Nathan? No. Your wife waited until he left the room before discussing this. That was the first clear sign that Elaine had intentionally kept something from our son. Not because she disliked him, because she didn't trust him with whatever that statement showed. Back home, I changed how I searched. Elaine knew Nathan had access to the house. She knew where we kept financial records. If she wanted me to find something he wouldn't, she wouldn't hide it with our financial records. She would put it somewhere he had no reason to look. I walked through the house slowly, then into the garage. On a shelf above my workbench sat an old metal recipe box that had belonged to my mother. Years ago, Elaine started using it for seed packets. Nathan probably hadn't touched it since he was a teenager. I opened it. Tomatoes, basil, green beans, then a plain white envelope. Across the front, in Elaine's handwriting, Thomas, only you. I carried it inside, locked the door, sat at the kitchen table. Inside were a letter and a bank statement. I read the statement first. The account belonged to Nathan. There were 3 deposits highlighted: $40,000, $35,000, $25,000. The exact amounts that had left Elaine's account. All $100,000 had gone to my son. For several seconds, I just stared at the page. I finally knew where the money went, but I still didn't know whether Elaine had agreed to send it. Then I opened her letter. Tom, if you're reading this, I ran out of time to fix something I should have told you about sooner. Please don't confront Nathan until you understand all of it. The next sentence answered the question I'd been asking for days. I gave him the first $40,000. I did not knowingly give him the rest. I stopped. The first transfer had been legitimate. The other $60,000 was not. Elaine explained that Nathan had come to her in financial trouble. A business investment had failed. He had debt he hadn't told us about. He asked for $40,000. She gave it to him because he promised it would settle the problem. It didn't. He came back asking for more. She refused. After that, he began bringing her financial forms to simplify things. Then she noticed the second transfer. She confronted him. He claimed she'd approved it. Elaine wasn't sure what had happened because she had signed several documents while sick. Then another $25,000 disappeared. That was when she called Martin. Her letter contained one line I read 3 times. I don't want to believe our son took it, but I won't accuse him without proof. Even then, she had been careful. So would I. The final page changed the problem again. The $186,000 account wasn't Elaine's entire inheritance from her father. There was another investment worth a little over $620,000. Half was intended for me. The rest was eventually to be divided equally between Nathan and Rachel. But after the missing transfers, Elaine had decided Nathan should not receive his portion directly. She wanted safeguards placed around it until his debts were under control. And according to her letter, Nathan knew she was considering that change. Now his obsession with the envelope made sense. It contained proof of the $60,000, but it also contained information that could affect hundreds of thousands more. My phone had been off while I read. When I turned it back on, there were 4 missed calls from Nathan and 1 from Rachel. Rachel had left a voicemail. Dad, call me. Nathan just asked whether Mom gave me any documents before she died. He sounded strange. Before I could call her back, another voicemail appeared. This one was from Elaine's investment company. A woman spoke calmly. Mr. Bennett, we need to discuss a beneficiary request concerning your late wife's account. I replayed it, then called immediately. After verifying my identity, she explained that a document had been submitted requesting a change in how Elaine's remaining investment would be distributed. When? Yesterday afternoon. I looked at the letter in front of me. My wife has been dead for almost 3 weeks. Yes, sir. Has any money moved? No. The account has been placed on hold while we review the request. I leaned back in my chair. Someone had submitted new paperwork after Elaine's death. This was no longer about discovering what had happened while she was alive. Whatever had started before she died was still happening. I called the investment company back immediately. The woman who had left the message introduced herself as Karen. After another identity check, I asked the only question that mattered. What exactly was submitted? A document requesting that your wife's remaining investment be distributed directly to her children. I looked at Elaine's letter. That wasn't what she had wanted. When was the document signed? The date printed on it is from before your wife's death. But you received it yesterday? Yes. Who sent it? I can't give you that information until our review is complete. I didn't argue. Can anyone move the money? No. The account is frozen until we determine which instructions are valid. That was enough for now. I sent her copies of Elaine's letter and the statement she'd hidden with it. Then I called Rachel. What did Nathan ask you? He wanted to know if Mom gave me any papers before she died. Did you tell him anything? No. Good. There was a pause. Dad, what did you find? Mom knew money was missing. Rachel went silent. And Nathan? The money went to his account. Oh, God. I don't know everything yet. That mattered. I had evidence, but I still didn't know exactly how far my son had gone. Don't call him, I said. I won't. Nathan arrived at my house less than an hour later. I hadn't invited him. He walked toward the door quickly. I stepped outside and closed it behind me. You weren't answering. I was busy. Rachel said you called her. I did. His eyes moved toward the house. Did you find the envelope? Yes. He went completely still. What did Mom say? That's between her and me. Dad, if she wrote something about me, you need to understand she wasn't always thinking clearly near the end. That bothered me more than I expected. Elaine had been weak. She had been exhausted. But until her final days, her mind had been sharp. Give me one example. What? One time she didn't know what she was doing. Nathan looked away. He couldn't give me one. Instead, he said, "Don't let one letter destroy this family." I watched him for a moment. The letter didn't transfer $60,000. His eyes snapped back to mine. I hadn't told him how much was disputed. Not once. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Then he said quietly, "I can explain that." Not yet. What does that mean? It means I'm still checking. He stepped closer. Dad, please. Go home. I went inside and locked the door. That afternoon, I searched Elaine's emails again. This time I searched Nathan's name. Most messages were ordinary family conversations. Then I found one from 2 months before she died. Elaine had written, "I already said no. Do not bring me another form. I will speak to your father when I'm ready." Nathan replied 9 minutes later, "You're making this bigger than it needs to be. I'm trying to keep everything in the family. I printed both messages. Now I had something written at the time. Not a memory, not an interpretation. A refusal from my wife, and pressure from my son." Karen called shortly before 5. "We've reviewed the beneficiary document. And there is a problem with the date." I sat down. "What problem?" "The form is dated November, but that version of the form wasn't created until January." I understood immediately. So Elaine couldn't have signed that exact form in November. Correct. Has this happened before? Karen paused. There were 2 earlier attempts to change the distribution instructions. I hadn't expected that. When? Both while your wife was alive? Were they successful? No, they were incomplete. 3 attempts. 2 before Elaine died, 1 afterward, all trying to change the same inheritance. Do you know who submitted yesterday's? We're reviewing the login records now. The answer arrived the next morning. An email from the investment company showed that the request had been uploaded through Elaine's online account. Her username, her password. But when the system required a verification code, it had been sent to a recovery phone. Only the last 4 digits appeared. I recognized them. Nathan's number. I printed the page, then called Martin. I think I know who submitted the document. Do you have evidence? Yes. Then don't confront him while you're angry. I'm not angry. And surprisingly, I wasn't. Not yet. I was past guessing. Now I wanted to know whether my son would tell me the truth when lying became harder than admitting it. I arranged 4 documents on the dining table: the transfers, Elaine's email, the false beneficiary request, the login verification. The original letter stayed locked away. Then I called Nathan. Come over tonight. What for? We're going to talk about your mother's inheritance. Silence. Then, okay. And bring every financial document she ever signed for you. The line went quiet again. Finally, he said, I don't know what you're talking about. I looked at the papers in front of me. Then you won't have anything to bring. I hung up. For days, I'd been trying to discover what Nathan had done. Tonight, I was going to learn something different. Whether, with the evidence sitting directly in front of him, my son would still look me in the eye and lie. Nathan arrived at 7. No documents. I had expected that. He sat across from me at the dining table and looked at the 4 pages I'd arranged face down. You said this was about Mom's inheritance. It is. I turned over the first page. The 3 transfers. Your mother gave you $40,000? He nodded. Yes. For your debt? Yes. Did she give you the other 60? His eyes stayed on the paper. Eventually. How? She asked me to transfer it. From her laptop? Yes. Both times? I think so. I waited. Then I turned over Elaine's email. I already said no. Do not bring me another form. Nathan read it without moving. She changed her mind later. Did she? Yes. Then why did you tell me you knew nothing about these transfers? He looked up. I panicked. Said, why would you panic over something she authorized? He had no answer. I turned over the 3rd page. The beneficiary request. Did you submit this? No. That answer came fast. I turned over the 4th. The verification record. His phone number. Nathan stared at it. For several seconds, the only sound in the room was the refrigerator running in the kitchen. Then he said, Mom gave me access to the account. While she was alive. Yes. She was dead when this was submitted. He rubbed both hands over his face. I wasn't trying to steal the whole account. I didn't ask what you were trying to steal. His hands dropped. He knew what he'd said. I leaned back. Start with the 60,000. He looked toward the window, then finally stopped fighting. The investment I made went bad. I know. His head turned. How? Your mother told me. That seemed to take something out of him. He spoke more quietly. He had put money into a small commercial project with 2 people he knew through work. It failed. Instead of accepting the loss, he borrowed money to cover it, then borrowed again to cover the first debt. By the time he went to Elaine, he owed more than $140,000. She gave me 40 and said no to more. He nodded. What happened next? I still had access to her accounts. That was the sentence I had been waiting for. Did she authorize the next transfer? No. The 35? No. And the 25? He shook his head. No. There it was. No complicated explanation. No misunderstanding. He had taken $60,000 from his mother without her permission. Why? I thought I could replace it. With what? He didn't answer. I already knew. The inheritance. His eyes filled. Yes. I stood and walked to the kitchen counter. I needed distance. Behind me, Nathan continued. I knew Mom still had Grandpa's investment. I thought when everything settled, I'd pay back what I took and nobody would lose anything. I turned around. Your plan was to repay your mother with money you expected to inherit from your mother. He looked down. I know how it sounds. It sounds exactly like what you did. I sat again. Now the beneficiary forms. He took a long breath. I knew Mom was changing something. How? I overheard her talking to Martin. You were supposed to have left his office. I came back for my keys. What did you hear? That she didn't want me receiving my share directly. That explained why he had been desperate to find the envelope. Not because of one letter. Because he needed to know how much Elaine had documented. What were you trying to change? I wanted the original distribution restored. Meaning the money would come directly to you. Yes. The first two requests? Mine. And the one submitted after she died? He stared at the table. Mine. Did Elaine sign it? No. I let the silence sit between us. Nathan had lied about money, used his mother's account after her death, submitted a document she hadn't signed, and then searched my house trying to learn what evidence she had left behind. Yet even now, one thing didn't make sense. If you knew she'd changed the inheritance, why were you so interested in the envelope? His answer surprised me. Because I didn't know whether she finished it. What? The new instructions. He looked at me. I knew she wanted to restrict my share. I didn't know whether she actually signed anything. So you were searching for proof? Yes. And if you found none? I thought the old instructions would still stand. Now I understood the entire sequence. The envelope wasn't something Nathan wanted to destroy because he knew exactly what it contained. He wanted it because he didn't know what his mother had managed to complete before she died. I went to the fireproof box and returned with Elaine's envelope. Nathan stared at it. I kept it in my hands. Your mother knew you were looking. His face tightened. I showed him the index card. The envelope is not where Nathan thinks it is. He read it once, then looked away. She knew. Yes. How much did she know? Enough to leave me the deposits from your account. He closed his eyes. I never wanted her to find out. But she did. I was going to fix it. You keep saying that. Because it's true. No. You were going to hide it. That's different. He didn't argue. I removed the final page of Elaine's letter. There was a paragraph I had deliberately kept to myself. Tom, if Nathan admits what happened, don't make a decision about his inheritance until you speak with Martin. The document that matters is with him, not me. Nathan looked at the page. What document? I don't know. That was the first time all evening he seemed to believe me immediately. I called Martin. He answered after a few rings. I found Elaine's letter, I said. All of it? Yes. I looked at Nathan, and he told me the truth about the 60,000. Martin was silent. Then, did he also admit submitting the beneficiary request? Yes. Another pause. Come to my office tomorrow morning. What did Elaine leave with you? I'd rather show you. Does it change the inheritance? Yes. Nathan lifted his head. I asked the question both of us wanted answered. Did she cut him out? Martin paused. No. Nathan exhaled, but Martin wasn't finished. She did something much more deliberate. I looked at my son. What? Elaine made sure Nathan could inherit from her. A beat. She also made sure he couldn't get his hands on the money the way he expected. For months, Nathan had believed the inheritance would erase what he'd done. The next morning, he was going to learn that his mother had planned for that too. Martin had one folder waiting when we arrived the next morning. Nathan sat beside me. The drive over had been almost completely silent. This time I preferred it that way. I wasn't interested in another apology. I wanted to know what Elaine had decided. Martin closed the office door. Before I show you this, I want to confirm something. He looked at Nathan. Did you tell your father that the last 2 transfers were made without your mother's permission? Nathan nodded. Yes. And that you submitted the beneficiary request after her death? Yes. Martin opened the folder. Then this is exactly the situation Elaine prepared for. He placed a document in front of me. I recognized my wife's signature immediately. What did she do? She changed the way Nathan's inheritance would be handled. My son leaned forward. Did she remove me? No. Nathan looked surprised. So was I. Martin explained it simply. Elaine had never wanted to disinherit our son. She wanted to stop him from receiving hundreds of thousands of dollars all at once, while he was already hiding serious debt. Rachel's share remained unchanged. My portion remained unchanged. Nathan would still inherit, but his share would be managed separately, under the safeguards Elaine had chosen. He couldn't simply take the entire amount and use it however he wanted. Nathan stared at the document. She still left me something? Martin nodded. She was trying to protect you from the decisions you were making. My son lowered his head. For months, he'd been fighting against a punishment that had never existed. His mother hadn't been trying to take his inheritance away. She had been trying to keep him from destroying it. There was one more instruction. The missing $60,000 would not come out of my share. It wouldn't come out of Rachel's either. It would be deducted from Nathan's portion. He looked at Martin. So I lose $60,000. Martin shook his head. So you already took $60,000. The room went silent. I watched Nathan absorb that. There was nothing cruel about the answer. That was what made it land. Elaine hadn't created revenge. She had created a consequence. Then I asked about the false documents submitted after her death. Martin's expression changed. That is separate from the inheritance. Nathan looked at me. What are you going to do? I'm not going to hide it. Dad, you used your mother's account after she died and submitted something she never signed. The investment company has the records. I'm not destroying documents or lying for you. His eyes dropped. I didn't threaten him. I didn't tell him what would happen. I didn't know. And I wasn't going to invent an answer just to make him afraid. He had made the decision. Now he would deal with whatever followed from it. Outside, Nathan stopped beside my truck. Can we talk about us? I put my keys in my pocket. All right. He struggled for a moment. Then said, I thought if I told you about the debt, you'd look at me like I was a failure. And what did you think I'd see after this? He had no answer. I kept thinking I could fix everything before anyone knew. That was your real mistake. Taking the money wasn't? That was a decision, a terrible one. I looked at him. But every decision after that was about hiding the one before it. He nodded slowly. I'm sorry. I believe you. He looked surprised. Then I finished. That doesn't mean I trust you. His face changed. I had no satisfaction in saying it, but it was true. That afternoon, I changed every financial password Nathan had ever known. I removed his access to my accounts. I organized Elaine's records myself and gave copies of the important documents to Martin. Then I called Rachel. I told her what her brother had admitted and what her mother had arranged. Is Nathan losing his inheritance? She asked. No. After everything he did. Your mother already made that decision. I wasn't going to turn grief into an excuse to punish him more than Elaine wanted. Nathan would receive exactly what she intended him to receive, with exactly the boundaries she had put in place. The months afterward were quieter than people might expect. There was no dramatic reconciliation. Nathan sold his expensive SUV and moved into a smaller apartment. He met with a financial counselor and began dealing with the debt he'd spent so long hiding. The $60,000 was accounted for against his inheritance. The investment company rejected the false beneficiary request and kept Elaine's actual instructions in place. And when questions were asked about the documents submitted after her death, I provided the records I had. I didn't protect Nathan from the consequences. I also didn't spend my days trying to make them worse. There was a difference. For a while, he called every Sunday. I didn't always answer. Eventually, I did. At first, we talked for 5 minutes, then 10. He stopped asking about the inheritance. He stopped offering to help with my finances. Months later, he came over to repair a section of fence that had blown loose. We worked most of the morning without discussing Elaine. Then, while holding a board in place, he said, "Mom could have cut me out completely." Yes. But she didn't. No. He looked down. Why? I set the drill on the ground. Because she wasn't trying to hurt you. He waited. She was setting a boundary. Nathan nodded. This time, I think he understood the difference. I still have Elaine's envelope. It sits in the fireproof box in my study. Sometimes I think about the sentence on that first card. The envelope is not where Nathan thinks it is. For days, I thought the important part was finding where she'd hidden it. I was wrong. Elaine had left me something more useful than a secret. She left me enough evidence that I didn't have to choose between loving my son and believing everything he told me. I could love him and still check the facts. I could want him in my life and keep him away from my money. I could hope he changed without pretending the betrayal never happened. Nathan had treated inheritance like money waiting for him at the end of his mother's life. Elaine understood it better. What she really left him wasn't $300,000. It was one final chance to learn that being family doesn't remove consequences. And what she left me was permission to remain his father, without ever again confusing trust with access.